You're listening to Heart to Harts with Erika M, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calling. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and oh so real. Let's talk about it, shall we? Now here's your host, Erika M.
Welcome back to Hearts with me, your hostess with the mostest, Erika M. And as you know, this is my podcast for the midlifers 50 and over, but please, please, please stay if you're not 50. Stay if you're 40. Stay if you're 35 or if you're 33 even, because you're going to get there. And when you get there, you're going to thank me. You're going to say, thank you. For those of us who've arrived, hey, take a seat. And I know what you're feeling. I know what you're thinking. It's like, what the F, man? When did this happen? And is this it, really? Is this what I get? I feel you. Like on a deep guttural level, I feel you. Hence my podcast. So on this episode, the topic I'm going to cover and I'm going to dive into, deep drum roll, the X-Files, divorce, dating, and dangerous after 50. Yeah, picture that in the lights right there. The X-Files, divorce, dating, and dangers after 50. That's a mouthful. I'll include the ghosting and the cheaters and the glow-ups because we can't forget those. But before we dig in, allow me, please, to warn you that this episode may cause sudden clarity, uncontrollable laughter, and an irresistible urge to block toxic exes. And that is my goal. Side effects include raised standards, sharper comebacks, and reclaiming your crown. And of course, as usual, listen responsibly. So on the more formal note, the views expressed in this episode are based on real experiences and blunt truths. While humor is used liberally, listener discretion is advised. And if you're allergic to empowerment, allergic to facts, or dating someone questionable, which let's face it, you probably are and or have, Heart to Harts, this podcast, isn't liable for any life-changing epiphanies that occur after listening. If you have that aha moment in the middle of this and you decide to get divorced or that you're packing up and you're ready to go, that's not my fault. This is my real talk for real women and men that, are here to navigate through this treacherous and sometimes torturous events. And until now, yep, not a lot of people have discussed it this way. And I want to try and get down to that. So, everyone has been advised. Welcome in. And like I said, I'll be spilling some tea, and it's not Earl Grey or chamomile or any kind of like green tea lemonade spritzer. Today, it's just straight up truth serum like usual. And that's what I'm going to be bringing every day, all the time. As long as I'm allowed, as long as you're listening, I'll be here to say it. So let me share and talk about dating after 50 because I'm 54 and I've done it. So I can speak on it in a very personal way. And, divorcing after I was 26, 27. But let's say this is also about divorcing at 30, anywhere in between your 30s and 40s and 50s and even 60s, because a lot of us don't get there till we're at 60. I have some peers that are in their 60s and they've divorced recently, maybe in the last 5 years, 8 years, or what have you. And they're now in their 60s and they're like, wow, it's daunting and it's scary. So it's no wonder that the U.S. divorce rate is around 40 to 50% for first-time marriages. Let's face it, 40 to 50% for first-time marriages. Yeah. With second marriages experiencing a higher rate. Yeah. And I didn't know that I thought the second one would actually maybe have more success, but it's a higher rate of divorce, typically around 60%. And infidelity, which is cited as a big factor, which we're talking about here, and is a significant portion of the divorces. And, studies have suggested that it contributes to about 20 to 40% of divorces. I think it's higher. I think it's probably the real reason why most people do leave, and or those that don't. Anyway, while some studies suggest 70% of couples stay together. See, I just said it. I didn't even read that. I promise. Pinky promise. After the infidelity is discovered. And that's true. I have a few friends that have done that. And you know what? And more power to you. Other data indicates that infidelity is a major contributing factor in a large percentages of divorces, which I've already mentioned. So, like I mentioned, the first-time marriages, approximately 41% of them end in divorce, which the second one's the likelihood of divorce increases. And anything subsequent, it's going to be around 60% and higher, also ending in divorce. So we have something going on, and it's all about the disconnect, right? It all starts with us, as I've mentioned in my previous podcasts. And it starts with finding out who we are, where we're standing. Are we standing on quicksand or are we standing on a 2x4? I like to say that because I didn't realize that if you build on quicksand, or, obviously intelligently, we all know that it's not going to last. It's going to go down. In time, it just sinks. Why? Nothing was built on real substance. Now, you can lust after someone. You can have an amazing sex life, but everything changes. You get older. And yeah, you may still be beautiful and sexy and all those wonderful things that you are, but you do look different. And your body ages along with that. That includes the inside and the outside, not just the wrinkles that happen, and that's inevitable, right? But how about the other stuff that happens that nobody talks about? The ED, the menopause that I've mentioned. Yeah, those are in my other episodes as well. So go follow. And if you follow, go look at them, listen to them, and we'll talk. So again, let me get back and swing back to this. Infidelity, which is a big part of the marriage and divorce, obviously, and for significant reasons, right? Indicating that it contributes to 20 to 40% of divorces. I'm just going to say, I want to say around 70 in my opinion. But again, everyone's got their story. That being said, it's a sensitive topic. So I'm going to tippy toe around it just a tiny bit because I know people are still married and not having thought like I'm leaving, or have maybe, how would I put this? Maybe have tossed it around in an argument or when they were mad, or maybe they actually left once and came back. There's no guilt here. There's no shame here. Whether you stay, you leave, it's really personal, and nobody has the right to tell you how to do that. Maybe your children to some degree because they get affected by your choices. But I'm talking about like the majority of you who have stayed and or do put up with these things, and for good reason. And I say that with lots of love and empathy because I personally could not stay with someone who's cheated on me. I never have, and I never will. And it's not something I could swallow. And I don't care how long I've been with that person. To me, it would be such a lack of trust that I could never go back. And to me, everything's trust. So once you've broken that, it's kind of like, how would I put this? Okay, you got a perfect bowl. And I know you all know this, so I'm just going to say it. You know how the Japanese, I think it's called origami? Don't quote me. I'll have to look it up, but I can't do that right now. When a bowl breaks, they put it back together with gold, the gold paint or some sort of something. And it looks absolutely beautiful when done. Actually, like it was done on purpose in a not so purposeful way. And it's beautiful, which to me is perfect beauty. Imperfection is beautiful to me. It always has been. So that being said, when something's broken, they fix it in that way instead of trying to just pretend it didn't happen. I don't know where I was going with that. See, I lost my train of thought. So I have to say it. It's no wonder that I felt this tugging to start this podcast and share my personal stories with you and my comebacks, because it's important to know that you can come back at any point, even if you've realized you've stayed and maybe you've settled, and or because you've stayed because you're in a golden cage, or because you've stayed because you have nowhere to go and you're, in midlife and you have not worked for some 20 some years, who knows your reasons, or because you're too scared, or because you have children and little ones, or because you're comfortable in your uncomfortableness. Let's start talking truth here. How many of us haven't stayed for those reasons? I know I've stayed in a marriage that I was loveless in. I entered it loveless. I stayed in it because of my son. I stayed in it because of the family conditions. I stayed in it even after all the abuse and everything I endured, even though I knew very deep down before I even said yes, I didn't want to. So yeah, and for most people, marriage could start off with obviously the courtship, and then in the beginning, it's usually butterflies and loads of premature sex, late night FaceTime, sexting nudes, and that pillow talk, et cetera, which is very convincing to that I'm in love, right? This person vibes with me. This person's everything. But do you really have those core values that sustain you through this life transition, basically? It's, we're all meat vehicles. We're spiritual beings wrapped in meat vehicles going to the same destination. And there's two exits. You know the one and you know the other one. And on this one, we're in the middle going, oh, I get to choose. I'm going to go on the highway. And in that, I have choices. Most of us are told, like at a very young age, get married. And no one talks about the divorce part. No one just says, oh, here's how you pick up your pieces and start going and moving forward. And so then there comes the shame and the guilt is let me just say this for the name, Madge. Why isn't Madge and like blah, blah, blah over this already? Well, maybe because she spent 20 some years, has 2 or 3 kids with this person, and has sacrificed things for him and herself. Now she's faced with the divorce, not knowing where to stand, not knowing where to go, having been cheated on, or maybe having just been the cheater. That happens too. Not often, but it does. So there's all these things that factor into why there's this divorce. But what about what it feels like to be 50 and dating again? That's the doozy. And that's where I can tell you, wow, just wow. How age does and doesn't make a difference is they're parallel, because it does make a difference and yet it doesn't. I mean, age is just a number, but it's not. It's like such the big oxy fuck moron, right? Because it's like it doesn't matter, but yet it matters. And how do we really make sense of it all? So in the early stages of life, we dream about the white dress, the bridesmaids, and the man, only to get married to realize that it was all just some outdated fairy tale. Marriage, then the kids, and then what happens after the kids? Nobody talks about that. Well, things have changed, and we're talking about it, and things change, right? And how about the work? Some of you stayed home, others go back to work. And some that don't go back to work, literally outside, but stay at home and do the work, are dedicated to their lives, cleaning, cooking, essentially being the Uber and the soccer mom and the discipliner, because dad's off making the money, right? Who knows how he's making it? Probably schmoozing, having fun, because he's usually someone who's got some clout and some, financial status. I'm speaking general here from my experiences. And I've seen what I've witnessed and what I've seen and how it's gone in so many different facets that I've seen marriages go down, and some that are still together. And maybe for the right or wrong reasons, I'm not here to judge it. I don't know, but they're still together. But someone made a choice, and one stayed home, and that was the mom. Usually it's the mom. And she becomes all these things. She wears a ton of hats and usually gets compensated very little for it and or praised, because that's what moms are supposed to do, right? So while dad's making his money and living his normal life, because that's his life hasn't been disrupted. His body hasn't been disrupted. He didn't have a child. He didn't have to wake up in the middle of the night to breastfeed. He doesn't know what it's like to have a sinking, like lower abdomen that never used to sink before. Or maybe you have stretch marks on it and now it looks ugly and she doesn't want to have sex that often because she's self-conscious. And now you have to be, this guy with blue balls. I'm sorry to say it that way, who's got a wife who's in, whatever situation after her baby, or her body's not the same. And maybe it's a year after and you're still not back to normal with what's normal. This is part of the change. But some don't adapt and accept and refuse to. So mom's probably day drinking or taking way too many Xanax. And maybe she's not. Maybe she's doing yoga and Pilates and obsessed with just plastic surgery and being beautiful and trying to maintain her youth and stay relevant because that's how she feels right now. And who knows? A lot of my friends have felt that way because some are divorced and have been for a long time. And they're like, holy crap, when does this get easier? It doesn't. When you're single, it really doesn't. So I can understand why women don't get divorced as many as I thought they would, because of the money. And it's not gold digging, it's investing. It's being smart. It's maneuvering and pivoting and realizing if you're going to go ahead and put your wanker in someone else and or emotionally cheat, then okay, I guess I get to do the same. Maybe not the way you did it, but in another way. I'm going to strategically plan my either exit or I'm going to stay and make the most of my life. And I applaud both. Because you have to be smart today's age. You can't restart your life from nothing and carrying 500 bags of rocks from your decision or the decisions that were made for you that affect your life. That's what leads to burnout. And that is what I think I've faced for a very long time is burnout. Waiting for that man to come in with the double income and help me out. And also I help, of course, in my way, depending upon what boundaries and parallels and polarities we've discussed. And for me, it just was so much easier never to do that, but always wanting and thinking that was my solution. So while people were getting married, they're also getting divorced and people are getting cheated on and people are being cheated with. And some are getting, like I mentioned, staying for the right reasons, not right reasons, settling, not settling. It's all personal. So that all being said, if you're in your dirty 30s and about to get married, or you're approached your 40s and already married and maybe contemplating divorce, just listen in. Maybe you're dog paddling to the surface. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Anyone at any point can be going through this Because at 54, in my morbid decline of 50s and to close, and too close for my understanding of the 60s that are around the corner. And no, it doesn't matter. I'm saying this in like all humor and good fun because I don't give a shit. I'm 54. I'm beautiful. I'm sexy. I've never felt better in my life. I am not married. I do not have someone that I'm leaning on. I am me. I have my 2 Labradors. I have my perfect little life, and it's growing and it's getting expanded because I have opened my eyes, turned the lights on, walked in the room, looked at my past, in my history, and I'm just uncovering, discovering, and discarding. That includes people. So while we all experience some version of what the F, how in the F did this become the storyline as most of you're probably thinking, how did this become my storyline? And maybe you feel guilty for it, but don't. We're entitled to rearrange our lives and our narratives. We're entitled to have our voices louder and become even known or seen or heard for the first time. I don't know what your story is. And we're going to all experience this. And I hope that you're standing in the kitchen with your dish gloves on and you're looking out your window, looking at the lemon tree and saying, wow, wow. And you can fill in the ... after that. So let's talk about something else that I want to talk about, which is depending on the age gap, a lot can differ for obvious reasons, men dating younger women. And how that stereotype has played into a big part of this divorce, and how that, I'm going to say it bluntly, how men leave women they've been with for 20 years, maybe sometimes 10, maybe 7, whatever, for the younger woman. Now, he has his own set of reasons, right? But we see them too. And as women, we're close to them, so we see why. And they also go through their menopause and they go through their midlife crises. And I'm sure they reach their point where they're constantly financially stressed and they're like, when is this going to get easier? And then when it does get easier, they go off and they find that hot, younger woman, the gold digger usually, who wants to be ready to be, set up, taken care of, and pop out a couple babies for him. Because you know what? By the time in 10 years he's 60 and she's barely 40 or 42, he's ready to he's probably, I don't know. I hope not. I hope he's still active and very, very much in the gym, but maybe he's slowing down a bit. And she's ready to roar. Her 40s, oh my God, my body was on fire. Hence why I dated a younger man. And we were on and off for, God, a good while up until about 3 years ago. And it wasn't consistent. Don't get me wrong. When he had a relationship, it was done. And yeah, I was the other woman a lot of times in between. And I didn't care because he was younger and I was never going to be with him anyway. But what happens is you get so much karma for that lady. So I do not recommend it. And though he changed my life in significant ways, he also broke me in significant ways. But I walked right into that one because I am not attracted to younger men. But we're getting to that. Hold on. I'm just mentioning it because it's something relevant to the divorce factor and the marriage factor and how we are now at 50 and or 60 and or 40 even. And we're facing divorce, or we've been divorced, or we're getting our second divorce, or we've been left for the other woman that's much hotter, much younger. Hey, shit happens. We don't get everything. So remember where you signed up? Remember when you said yes to the man that was maybe older than you? And now, I don't know, fill in the story there. What happened? Or maybe he's younger than you. Fill in the story there. You signed up for it, just like I did. So, yeah, there's that stigma still that exists, by the way. It totally does. And I hate that because men can do it, right? But women can't. Men can date younger women, but, God forbid an older woman, date a younger man. And, nowadays, depending upon the age gap, things really differ a lot in the dating pool because you guys are not into it anymore. Marriage, why would you? Why do you have to? Because you can get the milk without purchasing the big loud cow, right? You don't have to get the nag, so to speak. No pun intended to those named nag. And not that the older man and younger woman isn't so one-sided. It isn't. It's not. I get it. It's more relevant today. J-Lo, Casper, Mariah, Nick Cannon, Demi, and Ashton. I know. It's not new news. It's not taboo. It was and it has been. And yeah, it can still be. Let's face it. It still can be the headline. I don't know why, but it is. And to that, the ex I mentioned, who was the younger man in my life, he wrote me a song called Taboo. And it's awesome. It's pretty sexy, actually. Thank you, Nick. And on that, that's my only call out. It's on Apple. Find them. I won't tell you anymore because you know what? I don't have to tell you everything. So the good old, he's 34, you're 54, and you're the older woman. Oh my goodness. What shame to no end I experience, especially from people I didn't expect, like my son and some girlfriends, but not many. Mostly just the girls that thought they were above it. Funny now, huh? And now it's like, because I'm dating a younger man, I don't know, what am I, a perv? I'm unbalanced? What? For me, it was a case of both, I think. And yes, I was unbalanced. Hapso-flippin-lutely. In my case, it was both physical and emotional. And that being said, I should never have been with someone younger at my age of 40, 41, because what the hell was I thinking? And no, okay, I do believe in past lives, and I know for a fact that we had a connection and that it was an impossible connection, and we always talked about it. But somehow we had this physical connection that we always came back to. And it was more than just what you would say sex is. It wasn't like that. He was like another level tantra. And those are spiritual experiences that I don't want anyone to miss. I don't want anyone to lose because of the stigma. I don't want you to hide. I want this to be your uncovering, discovering, and discarding. You don't have to fall behind the veil anymore, nor do you have to put it out there. You know, the French have done it beautifully. They have midday afternoons where they go and make love to their lovers while they go home to. I'm not supporting this, by the way, but I don't know if it works for you. It works. It wouldn't work for me at all because I cannot share my man. But like they would have après-midi, l'amour après-midi, and don't laugh at my French. But yeah, it's like love in the afternoon. There's a great movie I love. It's called 9 to 5, and when I was dating my younger man, it was the epitome of everything I thought. There's another one that's really, really good. If I can remember the name, it's with Naomi Watts and what's her name? Oh my God, Robin Wright. It's one word, and it's about their children, their sons dating each other. It's kind of interesting and weird at the same time. Again, not condoning it, but again, it's so interesting to see the dynamics play out, even in a movie, because it's real world, people. And I'm not suggesting that that's the reason why people are divorcing. I'm suggesting that everyone deserves to be loved no matter what age, but where are you standing when you're choosing these things, and how is it going to affect your world and your future? Because it will affect your future. I'm here to tell you it will. No bullshit bias here. It's reality and it's true. So let me explain. I'm 50. Okay, so I meet a couple people when I'm 48, 49, 50, and, you know, two people who were very significant to me in the last 7 years, one of which is now engaged to be married. I don't know why he's not yet. I don't really care if he is or not, to be honest. But she's much younger, and she could be my daughter. And for the sake of not saying names, let's call him Tom. So Tom ends up having this kind of crazy thing with me, and all the while he's involved and he's out of that relationship on and off. So he and I intermittently talk and get involved and have this kind of interesting story, but turns out that didn't pan out. And he ends up very shortly after getting engaged to some, I don't know, young girl whom, in my opinion, is nothing but a gold digger. But then I don't know. You know, who am I to say? What do I know? I'm just following my gut instinct. And yes, of course it's understandable. She's young, he's rich, and he's good looking, and he's got so much, and she's got a kid. And you know what? Hallelujah. Good for you. I'll see you in 10 years when he's, I don't know, 61 and you're 42. What can I tell you? He's the age of your father, and your mother's my age, and I don't know what you're thinking, Tom, but good luck to you. I can remember, and this is why I'm bringing it up, the topic of concern was that I could not have kids. And that while we were discussing it, that whole week I stayed with him, it was such a factor that I think I was 40. I don't remember, but I was past my birthing stage, okay? It was just recently, not that long ago, you guys, 5 years ago. And I just remember feeling so much, like so beaten down because I couldn't do what I wanted, and I was really pissed. And my 3-4 years of being older really made a difference. And it did for the next relationship, the one that I left just recently, a year and a half ago. The one that was not, I didn't leave, that I was left with, you know, with no answers and nothing. mostly just bullshit. It was just the same situation. Oh, I remember that relationship being unbalanced because I was also somewhat older, and him mentioning he had also had someone that was older at once upon a time. And I still believe that person was around. But that he mentioned things like, oh yeah, things change. And he mentioned something that I'll never forget. He's like, her skin changed. I'm thinking, okay, but did her personality change? Did she change with you? Or we're all going to get older. You knew that when you got together with her. So unbeknownst to us, we're all going to age. And yeah, it was a topic of concern when I dated at my age. And I was not even 50 yet, 49, 50, 51. So let me offer you a few things here so that you can understand that most studies have said that it indicates that both men and women often show a preference for younger partners. I know that I never did. It just sort of happened that way that one time, and sort of, I believe it was a spiritual experience from maybe a past life that carried over, and we were supposed to do this, and it was on and off for so long and it also built me. It built this woman that you're listening to here. So thank you, God. And so, like, they did a research in UC Davis, and they said 4,500 blind dates found that individuals of both genders are slightly more attracted to younger partners for obvious reasons: stamina, endurance, looks, body, sex. I mean, hello. And the traditional norm that women primarily seek older men, is that even true? I never did. I never wanted someone older. I always was that girl that looked at older men kind of like, ew, he's old. And now that I'm in that age stage, I sort of look back and go, wow, I was such an ageism snob. And I face that today. I am shocked that I can say this, but there's like a couple times I've heard a couple comments where I'm like, oh my God, did you really just say that to me? Yeah, he really did. Or she really did. And I said that to them. I'm like, are you really seriously complaining that I'm 3 years older than you? Like, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? And I'm just laughing. So, like I mentioned, I never sought older, always my age, never ever younger, but it sort of happened that one time. And yes, I'm divorced, and none of that happened with it. And yeah, I got divorced on the premise that he cheated, but I wasn't in love. It was built on quicksand. What did I know? I should never have married him. And I'm never going to say that really to the point where I can say I wish I never married him, because I have my son and I love my son. My son is the sun in the sky for me, even though lately he's been nothing but dark clouds. We'll leave that there. And I know that God has that, so I'm going to leave it there. But he made it really hard for me when I dated the younger person. He shamed me and guilted me. Little did I know that my son was already projecting his own stuff onto me at a very young age. And it affected me in my relationship. So societal perceptions are real, and women who date younger men will face societal scrutiny. Historically, older men dating younger women has been normalized by now. And it's like so okay. It's so ridiculous. Look at Cassie and Pitty. Bad example. But look at it. He's 55. She's what? How old? So while the reverse can sometimes lead to that stigma, women might be labeled as cougars, which I've been called, or MILFs, which can carry very negative connotations, and I'm not fond of them. Whereas men are applauded, celebrated for such relationships. It sort of really is just gotta stop. But let's just take our power back here. Okay, so screw the age difference, right? Screw that. Heterosexual relationships, and the average difference is around 2-3 years, whatever. Typically men being older. However, the norm is slowly changing, and we know that. So we need to embrace the relationships with the younger men. And I completely implore you women that are available to do so to go and date a couple. You'll see the differences, and then you'll see the stark not differences, because whether they're 50, 55, 45, 30, if they haven't grown up and they're still in Peter Pan stage, they're going to stay in Peter Pan stage. And if they don't do the work, well, then you're just marrying a child, and you better get your construction hat on, because it's going to be a project. I can't believe I just said that. It's so true, though. So practical considerations is, while the attraction to younger men is common, practical considerations like life goals, your maturity levels, and societal expectations often impact long-term relationship choices. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because you're also going to have to deal with the cultural variations. Acceptance of the women dating the younger man always varies by culture. Have you seen it? Like, I don't see a whole lot of, and I'm going to say this, so don't hate me. Don't be hating me in the comment section. But like, I don't see Iranian women, older women dating younger men. I have yet to see that. Never once have I seen that. Not once. Never. And I say that because I have a few friends who are older and I suggest that and they're like, oh no, I could never. And yet they'll do it behind closed doors and no one's watching. And they won't make it serious. And that's just one culture. I'm just saying that because there's a lot of people around me that are like that. So it's more accepted than in others, and reflecting broader the attitudes towards gender roles and age. We both know and all know that that's just such a conflict of interest these days. So it's no wonder that the evolving landscape of this indicates that we're all challenged and we're going to remain challenged if we don't get our heads on straight and learn where we're standing and who we're choosing and why. Because it's not about the diverse relationship dynamics only. It's why are we choosing these partners? Why are the women choosing younger men? Is it because the older men are boring and expect us to be their mommies? And they expect us to be their, caretakers when they get old, and we're not ready to go there, even if we're the same age. So it's kind of a serious thing. Like, you have to really consider all these things because age will make a difference. It's just like they say, oh, money doesn't matter. It does. It does matter. It really does. So I don't date personally. As you know, I'm celibate and I'm not dating because I choose not to date, because I'm choosing to stay in my healing process. And because I'm pretty much always going to be healing. But what I mean by now is that I had to take the time out and off for me for several reasons, not just the last relationship that really bulldozed me into the ground and gave me absolutely no closure. And even if the little that I got was so breadcrumbed, it was like a half of a breadcrumb, that I want to punch him in the face still and tell him, go F yourself. Because part of me feels that way. And then the other part sometimes goes, God, I miss him sometimes. Yeah, you miss what exactly? And that's when I have to slap myself in the face and go, wake up. You haven't dated in a year and a half, really. Those that you have, and let me share a story. It doesn't get easier just because I'm dating an older man. And by the way, I have tried dating older men. They're still kids. They're still a bunch of bumbling fools that think that, I don't know, you're going to sleep with them on the first date. And most women do. I don't understand that. But I don't know. I used to be so different. And now I'm so different in the best of ways. And it's because I took my power back. I took my voice back, because regardless of the divorce, and if he left me for someone else, or if he stopped dating me because he found someone better on Brighton Avenue or Brighton Way or whatever you want to call it in Beverly Hills, and she's amazing. Well, where is she? How come she's not in any pictures? How come haven't seen any wedding photos either? Like, what's going on here? The gaslighting is real and no one likes to admit defeat. But you know what? And if they haven't said it in a while, sometimes when you lose, you win. And I believe I'm the winner because I'm still standing and my glow up is fierce. And I don't say that just because I've lost weight and toned up and I look good. I am looking good. And I haven't had plastic surgery yet, but that'll be another episode, because my next episode will discuss the beauty standards, et cetera, et cetera. But don't let me get sidetracked now. You guys know I will lose my train of thought. Did you know that nearly 69% of divorces are initiated by women, though? Did you? Yeah. We're not sitting pretty and waiting for life to happen anymore. We're making moves, dude. We are. All of us are. A lot of us are. But here's the kicker. Once we step back into the dating pool at 40 or 50 plus or 60 plus, and bravo if you are, it's not exactly synchronized swimming, you guys. It's more like Shark Tank, literally and figuratively. I am here to express that to you. So I needed to take time off for myself to heal, because I don't like jumping around, and never have I been that person. And beware of those people who go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. You're getting all of that karma. So more power to you. I have no interest in that. My first question is, when was your last relationship? How did you heal from it? How does he talk about her? And if he's smart and he's a narcissist and a strategist, mental strategist, like my ex-situationship was, he'll know how to answer and how to move you in the right direction, especially if you're gullible and you're trusting like me. So be smart, ladies. Stay on your toes. And let's not kid ourselves. Even though we step back in the dating pool, and I mentioned that they don't get that much more mature when you're in your 50s, they don't. They really don't. That's why I think they're capable of dating a 30-year-old or a 28-year-old or something like that, because the mentality is pretty similar. And I know at 30, we all think we have it made and we all figured it out and we have a kid and we're prompting around. I had a kid at 23. I know what you mean. but I didn't know shit. I didn't know anything. I was broken, depressed. I didn't even know I was depressed until my therapist, which I finally went to, I was suggested to go to, and I went to and said, "You're slightly depressed." I'm like, "I am?" She's like, "Yeah, you really are." And so I started realizing, not that I am, but that there's some problems. And it has nothing to do with just X, Y, or Z. It had to do with me. And I had to do the excavating, but I never did. But in my 30s, I thought I had it all hand out, figured out. I saw something the other day. Oh, I saw it just recently on Instagram, and I won't take too long expressing all I have to say before wrapping up, but let me just get to it. This woman on Instagram was doing a dumbbell, what do we call those? Oh my God, an arm lift, whatever. It's completely escaped me. I don't know why. And she noticed, she put the camera on her underarm extra skin, and she made a comment. And someone in the comments that was much younger said, "Oh, I never want to be like you at that age. No, I don't see my skin like that." And then she chimed in. She's like, "Thank God you're not like me and I'm not like you." It's kind of like, who exactly do you think you're going to turn into at 50? Cinderella? You think that plastic surgery is going to cover your wrinkles on your sagging skin that will naturally happen all over your body? No, it doesn't stop there. No, it doesn't. The skin is the biggest organ on our body. Did you know that? I think we're made up of 90% water as well. So we're fluid. And like everything shrinks, everything does. And if you do not believe that, well, just wait for it. So let's not kid ourselves again. Ghosting is another thing I want to discuss, because that's part of my tagline, right? The ghosting, the cheaters, which I've mentioned, and the glow up, which I haven't really thrown myself into yet. But you know what? It's all relevant, and it's all falling under the same umbrella. Ghosting these days, you guys, is the equivalent of someone just not picking up their phone. So stop calling. It goes back. Ignore them. I'm here to tell you it's okay. I used to obsess on that. I used to think, "Oh, how dare you ignore me?" It used to be one of my biggest triggers. And now it's like, wow, you've just shown me who you are. Thank you so much for exiting my life. The door is locked behind you. Please don't come back. Because I'm going to remind you how you left me here on red. And I'm going to remind you how many times you made me cry myself to sleep. So ghosting, if you're a ghoster, you literally should take off your shoes right now. Go find a 2x4 and start kicking it for me. I'm so serious, because it's the rudest thing you could do. I think that it's important to mention right now, because so many of us talk about maturity levels at our ages, right? We think we know everything at 30, 35, and we're so on ball. And maybe some of you are on ball, and I applaud that. I really, really do. No minimizing that. But for the majority of you that aren't, oh God bless you. You give me patience, and you make me realize that rolling my eyes back may stay there one day. So I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm not going to sit here and preach to you. You'll figure it out. You'll get there. But the ghosting, whoever developed that, has been developed into this new strategy of power. It's not, it's lack of power. When you ghost someone, you're telling me you have no balls and no backbone, that you don't have the tongue that you say that you have, which is of good nature and goodwill. No, you're actually the opposite. So when people show you who they are, no matter what age they're at, believe them. Because at 50, I've seen them behave the same way they have 10, 20 years ago. And yeah, I have a lot of people I can say that about. Believe it. It's true. People can change if they do the work. And I've seen that too. I applaud my ex-younger guy who went through a shitstorm in his dark night of the storm. And I believe I was a part of some of that healing, but it affected me and it trickled into my life, and I wasn't even involved with him. Not to that degree. And that was the end of us, but that was the beginning of so much more for me. And I still needed to grow. And that person was 19 years my less. So is age or ageism really unimportant? It's really important to some degree, and I hate to admit it, but it is, because it means experience. It means having discernments that you won't have at 30, that you will have at 50. But if you've never developed into that, you're going to face it when you hit your, 50 somethings, and you're maybe facing your divorce. And now you're facing oh my God, what the F just happened to me? XYZ husband's off with XYZ girl and you're bitter in your corner and you still haven't gotten over it and you don't know how to move on. So you're probably receiving, I don't know, alimony or being taken care of in the house. Fill it in. But when are you going to pick up your shoes, take your things out of the closet and move? Maybe figuratively, maybe literally. And close that chapter or write a chapter of your own and stop looking back because he's moved on. You can move on too. So I want to say we're all autonomous creatures and we're all wild and seasoned to some degree. We've got some wisdom and wit, and let's be real, we're hotter now than we've ever been in our 20s because we actually know who we are. Isn't that beautiful? It's like when we're young, we're messy, we're irresponsible, we're fiscally usually not fit. We're usually looking for love in the wrong places and for the wrong reasons. They're not leaving us for younger because we're lacking. They're running because we're too much truth and too much power and too much woman. Finding out you're not the only flower in his garden sucks. Especially when he's been walking through the botanics. Oh my God, I have to laugh. Yeah, some guys walk through the botanicals. And even if they don't, they walk through the weeds. And I don't know, it is what it is. I just feel like there's so much more. I know that it's like a guttural punch. But newsflash, you're not a wilting rose. You're a damn lotus, just like me. Lotus flowers are born out of the mud. And you rise through that mud looking fierce and unbothered. Look at me. Listen to me. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be standing here. I shouldn't be talking to you. And I've reinvented and rewritten my story. And I'm standing here to tell you, after divorce, after failed relationship, after being the other woman, after having been left for the other woman, having been broken down literally to just feel like nothing when I was recently told I'm engaged, 3 months after I stopped seeing someone I truly love. And I don't believe that, but regardless, it's like I'm here to tell you can survive and become and be that lotus flower, rise higher. And it's that beautiful poem I read in one of my episodes of, Phenomenal Woman by Angela, oh my God, I can't even speak today. So here's your pep talk, and I'm going to wrap it up because clearly I'm done talking. Every time someone ghosts you, remember that you're the damn main character, okay? You're not the side quest. If someone's too scared to handle your beauty, your truth, your full course meal, so to speak, let them snack on those appetizers anywhere they want. Let them. And as for the other woman, darling, she's just another player in the game. And you, my love, you're the house. Raise your glass to autonomy, freedom, and never, ever dimming your light because someone else couldn't handle your glow. Remember, you're worth it. And if you're not going to remember that, I'm going to remind you that you're worth it. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Heart to Harts with Erika M. If today hit a nerve, stirred a truth, or sparked a comeback, make sure to subscribe, share, and come back next Sunday when Erika talks about whatever she wants. Midlife isn't the end. It's where the story gets good and the middle gets rewritten. Your way.